You might think this could never happen to you. But what if the same rules applied to your favorite creator? He thought the camera would protect him, that as long as it was just content, no one could touch him. But when you're live streaming crimes in a country that doesn't play around, the camera stops being your shield and starts becoming the evidence that takes you down. Millions watched as he harassed strangers, stole from businesses, and laughed his way through the chaos, thinking it was all part of the show. But what really flipped the story on its head wasn't even shown in the live stream. That comes later. This wasn't just a prank gone too far. This was a full-blown unraveling, captured live, moment by moment. And now, he's sitting in a jail cell in a foreign country, facing charges that could end his career, or worse. But the most shocking part, it wasn't the arrest. It wasn't the confrontation. It was what happened after the cameras stopped rolling.
There's been videos about you that have come out and they've been showcasing like the bad things that you do, but what about the...
Stay with me, because this story doesn't just expose one streamer. It reveals how far people will go for fame. Just a few years ago, Vitaly was seen as one of the OG prank kings of YouTube. Millions of subscribers, viral videos, collaborations with A-list creators. He had it all. But somewhere along the way, the line between content and chaos completely disappeared. What used to be staged pranks slowly turned into real-life harassment. And instead of laughs, he started chasing reactions, no matter how uncomfortable, aggressive, or outright illegal it got.
Have you seen the good what I've been doing?
They don't show it as much. And so I'm wondering, what's it like for a streamer when people...
His latest IRL stream wasn't just reckless, it was dangerous. He walked through a busy shopping center in the Philippines, live on camera, stealing from stores, snatching hats off security guards, grabbing a giant industrial fan like it was a souvenir, and even threatening to rob an elderly woman. And he was laughing the entire time. Not hiding, not acting, just broadcasting it, raw and unfiltered. What makes this story so insane is how casually he did it, like he genuinely believed there'd be no consequences. Like being a content creator somehow made him untouchable. But in a country like the Philippines, where laws around harassment and public disturbance are taken very seriously, that's not just naive, it's dangerous.
Good.
That's a good question because it frustrates me, but I just started streaming. I don't have a team.
And while he thought the stream would end with more followers, more clips, more engagement, what actually came next was something he never saw coming. Because someone was watching. Someone who wasn't just going to scroll past. Someone who decided to confront him, face to face. What happened next wasn't part of Vitaly's plan. Because while he was busy collecting views by mocking locals, one viewer had seen enough. Someone who'd watched the chaos unfold on stream, then made the decision to track him down. Not to start drama, but to ask one simple question. Why?
Left me, so I'm getting clippers and I'm getting everybody, yeah. Why? What'd you see? Have you seen what I've done the last 4 days, 5 days?
The confrontation happened in public, cameras rolling, and at first it was calm, respectful even. The guy approached Vitaly, looked him straight in the eye, and asked, "Why don't people see the good in what you do?" It was a question Vitaly clearly wasn't ready for. You could see it on his face. Like for the first time, he realized someone was actually holding him accountable in real life. Vitaly tried to pivot. He started talking about how much money he donated. $20,000 in just a couple days, he claimed. As if generosity somehow cancelled out harassment. As if tipping a waiter erased threatening a stranger. But the guy wasn't buying it. "That's cool," he said, "but it doesn't excuse the way you treat people on stream." And that's when the vibe shifted. Fast.
You know, there's a content creator named Atozi.
No, I don't know who that is.
He just did a video on...
Vitaly went from defensive to confrontational. He started pushing back, questioning the guy's credibility, mocking his follow account, even threatening violence at one point. It was uncomfortable, cringy, like watching someone who thought they were invincible suddenly realize they're not. But the wildest part, this wasn't just a verbal exchange. It exposed something deeper: Vitaly's complete inability to reflect. Instead of owning up, he doubled down. Instead of apologizing, he lashed out. And instead of calming things down, he escalated. Viewers in the chat were stunned. Some were laughing nervously, others were furious. But no one could look away, because this wasn't just content anymore. This was a creator unraveling in real time.
You 5 hours ago
Saying what?
saying that you were harassing people here in the Philippines.
Yeah, and then what about me donating over 20,000?
And little did he know, that confrontation was only the beginning of what was coming. While most IRL streamers end their drama with a half-hearted apology or a clickbait "I messed up" thumbnail, Vitaly's story took a very different turn. Just days after that now infamous confrontation, everything came crashing down. For real, the Philippine authorities had seen enough. And this time, it wasn't a warning, a ban, or a slap on the wrist. It was an arrest. Live footage shows Vitaly being approached by law enforcement and calmly read his rights. But here's the part that stunned everyone. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't apologetic. He was smiling. As if the entire thing was just another episode in his twisted livestream series. As if being arrested in a foreign country was part of the content plan. But this wasn't a prank. This was real. And the charges, serious. Local news reported that he was facing multiple counts of theft, attempted theft, and something called unjust vexation. A broad legal term in the Philippines used to describe public disturbance and harassment. Basically, if your behavior disrupts the peace or causes emotional distress, you can be charged. And Vitaly had live streamed hours of it. Even more shocking, the authorities weren't just going after him, they were actively working to identify and charge his cameraman. 2, because in their eyes, it wasn't just one rogue content creator. It was a coordinated effort to disrupt public order for entertainment.
Right, and as a content creator, that stuff kind of goes under...
No, it doesn't, because my editors are working on it, and I'm going to release the truth.
To make matters worse, police encouraged anyone who had been harassed during his stream to come forward. They weren't just filing charges, they were building a case. And with every clip, every reaction, every moment of recorded chaos, the walls were closing in. And yet, through it all, Vitaly didn't seem to get it. He kept posting, kept talking, kept acting like this was all a misunderstanding or a viral stunt gone a little too far. But this wasn't social media anymore. This was the legal system. And in a country like the Philippines, where public behavior is taken seriously and law enforcement moves fast, he was about to learn just how real the consequences could get.
I'm saying when it happens, people don't broadcast that as much.
Yeah, but I don't get... For me, when you know what I mean, then I'm back on top. For me, when people talk...
As the reality of his situation started to sink in, the story spread fast. Local media ran it headline after headline. Russian-American vlogger arrested for harassing Filipinos in public. The videos went viral again, only this time not for laughs, not for shock value, but as evidence. Clips of him stealing, mocking, and threatening were now being dissected by investigators, lawyers, and national TV anchors. What started as just content had now become the foundation of a legal case. And the most bizarre part? Vitaly still didn't seem to understand how serious this was. In one video, just moments after being read his rights, he was seen smirking at the camera, like he thought this was all one big misunderstanding. Or worse, like he believed his status as a popular YouTuber made him untouchable, even by the law.
That's how I know I'm doing the right thing, because people want to bring me down when you're up. When you're down, nobody cares about you. When you're up on top, everyone wants to bring you down.
But this wasn't LA. This wasn't Miami. This was the Philippines. And their legal system doesn't treat viral fame as a free pass. Authorities announced he was officially being charged with 2 counts of theft. 1 count of attempted theft and 2 counts of unjust vexation. And that was before the Cybercrime Division stepped in. Yes, Filipino cybercrime investigators began reviewing his entire live stream for possible violations, but up even more charges against him. In short, every second of content he thought would boost his views might now be used to boost his sentence.
Who is the creator, Chad? Not you. Who's the creator that talked about me?
Tozy, but he's
Tozy. You're like
And the public? They weren't exactly sympathetic. Comment sections exploded with calls for justice, for deportation, even for jail time. Many Filipinos expressed how deeply offensive his behavior was, not just because he broke laws, but because he disrespected a culture that had welcomed him in. But here's what makes it all even darker. This isn't the first time we've seen this exact storyline. Remember Johnny Somali? Another IRL streamer who made a name for himself by going to foreign countries and provoking locals for clicks. He too thought the content game made him untouchable, until he was arrested, tried, and sentenced. And now, it's like Vitaly is following the same script, just in a different country. Same smirk, same entitlement, same crash landing.
1,000 subscribers?
No. He's got like 1 million or something. He's not.
Wow.
And still, the full fallout hadn't even hit yet. The craziest part in all of this, Vitaly wasn't always like this. Back in the early 2010s, he was just another ambitious prankster trying to make it on YouTube. He had charisma, energy, and, at least back then, a sense of boundaries. His content was outrageous, sure, but it wasn't mean-spirited. People laughed with him, not at others. But somewhere along the way, the algorithm changed, and so did he. As pranks lost their novelty and YouTube shifted towards safer, ad-friendly content, creators like Vitaly started losing relevance. Views dropped, influence faded, and in desperation to stay relevant, he did what so many have done. He went live.
The thing for me is like, so
It's frustrating. It's frustrating that they're so good. That's your answer.
you show up in a country.
The world of IRL streaming doesn't reward reflection, empathy, or nuance. It rewards chaos, controversy, shock. Every time a creator pushes a boundary, they gain viewers. Every time they get called out, it becomes another viral moment. It's an ecosystem that feeds on negativity, because negativity sells. And for someone like Vitaly, once famous, now fading, that pressure must have felt like drowning. So he adapted, he leaned in, but instead of evolving, he spiraled. What makes this so tragic isn't just the legal consequences. It's the fact that he genuinely seemed to believe he was doing the right thing. That if he threw money at people after harassing them, or tipped a waiter after mocking locals, it somehow made it okay. As if kindness was a transactional tool to cancel out cruelty.
You have your team start around, they fuck you over, right?
No, what do you mean? So, have you watched all the VODs or no?
I haven't.
Exactly. So you don't know.
But it doesn't work like that. People aren't props. Real life isn't content. And when your entire brand is built on chaos, eventually chaos turns back on you. Even in his confrontation with that viewer, the guy who tried to have a real conversation, you could see the disconnect. Vitaly talked in circles. He kept saying, "They don't show the good I do." But here's the thing, good doesn't erase harm. And when the harm is the content itself, people stop caring about the donations. The tits, all the excuses. This wasn't about being misunderstood. It was about accountability finally catching up. And still, there was one more twist coming. One that not even Vitaly could laugh off.
You asked me a question, how do you feel? I said, I feel it's frustrating.
I'm sure it is frustrating.
Okay.
What are you planning to do?
I just told you.
Just when it seemed like things couldn't spiral any further, the situation took a darker turn. One that Vitaly likely never anticipated. Because this wasn't just about punishing him for a few reckless acts. The authorities made it clear. They were building a case bigger than Vitaly himself. Reports confirmed that police weren't stopping at the 5 initial charges. Now, investigators from the anti-cybercrime group were combing through hours of live stream footage, frame by frame, looking for additional violations. And in the Philippines, where digital harassment laws are both strict and wide-reaching, almost anything can be considered a cybercrime if it causes mental or emotional distress to others, especially if it's broadcast to the public.
My editors are editing, and I don't need to prove anybody. Jesus.
You needed to prove anything to anybody.
That means every moment he mocked a bystander, every insult, every stolen item, every act of provocation could potentially turn into another charge. This isn't speculation. This is confirmed by the local authorities themselves, who've made it clear they intend to pursue any and all legal avenues to hold him accountable. And it doesn't stop with Vitaly. Investigators are now also looking into his Filipino cameraman, the one who followed him during these streams. The narrative here is changing from rogue content creator acting alone to a coordinated operation to create harmful content at the expense of locals. And if they can prove that, it opens the door to conspiracy charges and deeper legal consequences.
What happens behind the scenes when you're interacting with people here and you're messing around with them? I know it's a joke to you.
What makes this particularly intense is the public response. Local residents who appeared in the videos are now being encouraged to come forward and file individual complaints. That means the list of victims isn't just theoretical, it's growing in real time. Each one representing another potential charge, another piece of the puzzle, another nail in the coffin. It's no longer a matter of if Vitaly will face punishment. It's a matter of how far the punishment will go. And the irony? All of this could have been avoided. Had he stopped, had he reflected, had he taken any of the countless warnings seriously. But instead, he laughed, he smirked, he shrugged off concern like it was just another comment section hate wave. Now, that smirk could cost him months, or even years of his life. And yet, somehow, the most surreal part of this story still hasn't hit.
But for the people here, they work hard, bro.
And guess what? And I tip them, what do you do? Exactly.
The most surreal part of this entire story, it's that Vitaly still doesn't seem to get it. Even after the arrest, even after the charges, even after the global backlash. He continues to speak as if he's the victim of some smear campaign. Someone misunderstood, taken out of context, framed by the internet for being too real. But here's the truth. Vitaly wasn't cancelled. He self-destructed. And what we're witnessing now isn't just a YouTuber getting arrested. It's the collapse of an entire era of content creation. The era where shock value was everything. Where harassing strangers could be spun into entertainment. And where consequences felt like a distant myth. That era is dying. Not because platforms are changing, but because audiences are changing.
I run a software company and I provide housing for the.
So you can't just talk, right?
I'm not talking shit.
So why are you
I'm asking you why even make that content?
People are waking up. They're no longer impressed by creators who punch down, who exploit others, who confuse recklessness for bravery. The internet is tired of fake apologies, tired of streamers using content as a free pass to treat real people like props. And while Vitaly may still have fans defending him, claiming it was just jokes or out-of-context clips, it doesn't change the reality. When you film yourself doing things that hurt people, that's not content. That's evidence. The real tragedy here isn't just that Vitaly got arrested. It's that he threw away everything. The fame, the legacy, the platform, gone. Because he couldn't step back for even 1 second and ask himself, what am I doing? And who is it hurting? And now, the damage is done. His legal fate is no longer in his hands. And his public image, once built on charisma and creativity, is now associated with arrogance, entitlement, and a smirk that aged like milk.
Genuinely.
Because
I'm speaking up for a large majority of people.
Shut the f*** up, because I do whatever the f*** I want. What are you gonna
So maybe this isn't just a lesson for one streamer. Maybe it's a mirror for every creator chasing attention at any cost. Because sooner or later, the chaos you create will turn on you. Because in the end, When the stream ends and the camera stops rolling, what's left isn't content, it's consequences. If you want to stay ahead of stories like this, ones that go way deeper than a viral clip, subscribe, because the next one might be even darker.